Docking request accepted.
Good morning, New Eden. Today is September 7th, 2025, and this is the Federation Frontline Report. I'm your host, Frozen Fallout. My co host is Nightflyer. How's it going, Nightflyer?
Hi, good evening, everybody. Yeah, doing pretty well. Make sure my sounds are off. Okay, cool.
And
There
Canuck
we
Down
go.
Under is giving a good shout out to the Amar. The good
Yeah, they're
fight
doing a
that they are
good
having.
push up there. So, yeah, the war zone has been pretty good. Before getting into that, though, we got some real world kind of intermixing with our Eve world kind of news. So, as you are aware, last week, part of the reason why we weren't streaming is because we were all freaking tired. But I was tired because I had to drive out to Michigan and go to the Michigan Eve meetup. So that was
I
a
think
thing.
we were supposed to do more advertising for that too. And we
Oh, we
should have
tried.
showed up. We should have showed up in force, but
Oh, it's rough. So again, Michigan itself is only like an hour away from me, but Bay City, Michigan is on the other side of Michigan. So it's about a 5.5 hour drive. Six and a half, depending on how many pee breaks you got to take. But
so
um,
is that Upper Michigan or True Michigan?
it's in the lower part of Michigan. It's about an hour north of Detroit. So
Okay, yeah.
if you see Michigan like the mitten, Detroit would be down here. Bay City is right there. So it's in that little part of Michigan there. Uh, but Bay City, little trivia question, is home to what famous pop singer?
Oh, I have no
Remember?
idea.
You'll know as soon as I tell you. Madonna.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That
she's born in Bay City, Michigan. So yeah, she came up through Detroit and got all
now I
famous and
know.
stuff that way. So that I vaguely remember. But yeah, she's on a lot of the billboards and stuff up her buildings and stuff up there. That's kind of their claim to fame. But nice town, really nice. Had a really nice Airbnb. But it was a good get together.
And
Shout out to
Canuck Down Under, thank you so much for subscribing. That's
oh, thanks,
super
buddy.
huge.
So it's not just me. We got other subscribers. It's
Mm-hmm.
awesome. Hey, no commercials, right? No commercials. Can't have that crap interfering with our school run time. The whole get together is put together by Teddy Shy, who is with Big and Strong. Mainly, does a lot of high sec Care Bear and industry stuff. He's big into like the high sec mining and fleets, things like that. So, um, but nice guy. And it was only me and him and I think, or no, I'm thinking, I'm knowing, we're the only two people there that weren't part of Goon Swarm.
Yeah, Goodstorm
So
can come in force to a lot of good meetups.
yeah,
Which is why I was so surprised when we went to uh, Vegas how little presence there was actually from
yeah,
goons there.
it was a little light. Um, that one at the time I
How
went
many goons
before
showed
that,
up?
there was quite a bunch. Three.
Oh, okay, so
Oh,
it's a nice little
So
group of guys,
yeah, yeah. So there's the five of us that showed up. A couple of others that were scheduled to show up and didn't make it, but it was a little unusual. It really got me kind of thinking about, our Madison meetup that we do, and that you're kind of the spearhead on that one. Um, just as far as like location and that kind of stuff of like when you put these things together, and we definitely got to do a show or something about how to put together and host an Eve meetup for people. So it
Oh,
doesn't have
yeah.
to be that hard. I mean, it can be this simple. Hey, we're gonna meet on September 29th in Bay City at this place, Crazy Quarters, um, at 6 o'clock. And
One
so
thing,
people
like
show up,
just
they
a
show up,
quick
but they
tip
don't,
and
they don't.
trick on that would be to definitely do tickets. Do
Yes.
free tickets through like Eventbrite, which is what they use for like FanFest and stuff like that. Can be like a really big, thing for being able to get a head count of how many people are anticipated, and then always know with ticket sales even that especially for free events that you're only going to get like 50 to 75% of those people, and
Yeah.
the more expensive the event the more likely that they are going to show for
So
it.
that's
uh,
right. That's your balance.
right.
If you make it free, then people can buy tickets and not show up. But if you even charge $5, um, it helps that.
And then
But
do swag stuff everyone
got it.
gets
You
for
gotta
having
get
a
swag.
ticket.
Oh, speaking of the swag, sorry to lean into the mic there, but I got one of the old magazines
Oh
to go
yeah,
with
what
my
year is that?
collection. This is the one I got in Iceland, and this one actually it's got the disc, and this is the FanFest 2007 disc. I haven't
Oh
played it
wow,
yet.
okay.
I'm gonna come play it, but this is what edition is this? This is Old Man Eyes. Can't find date. Somewhere in here, we'll figure it out. I don't have the proper lighting, but we'll go with 2007 Ion magazine. So those are pretty cool. Like I said, now I've got two. I've got that disc. So we got that, and we got skin cards. I'm going to show you the one that doesn't have an active code on it. So this one's already been activated. So go ahead and copy the number down and not get anything for it. So I almost picked up one that hasn't been activated yet. So CCP had sent out some swag. It was pretty cool. They sent out one of those Rifter hubs, the plastic model that's got the USB ports on it.
Oh really?
And yeah, one of the other guys got that. So
How
I
are
wanted
we
that.
not
I
getting
really want
swag
that.
for our
I don't know.
events?
I
We're
don't know.
just-
Well, because our contact that we had there doesn't work for CCP anymore. So
yeah,
when
that
she left,
too. That's
we kind of lost that.
and
But definitely for
well,
next year, I
I've
think
been
we've
in
proven ourselves.
contact
So,
though with, and I mean CCP Swift is one that I talk to a lot, but
yeah,
one of the
Swift and
things is
Lumen,
we don't ask and we don't push hard. We're like the retired players of Eve. They're just like we just
the
we're
afterthought.
here, we play, but there's no one of the big ways that I think faction warfare, going on tips and tricks is of faction warfare, is that I think that it's a great spot for two very different active mindsets in Eve, and one is to learn the basics of the game, maybe even start up a corporation that can be greatly influential in the war zone. So let's say that somebody comes in with a group of like 10 friends who are addicted to this game, who do the like, I play this game every day for 5 to 10 hours, there are people like that who can gather like 5 people to 10 people, and that can be really influential in faction warfare. That can totally change the tides of a fight. If 5 more people had been, in our Wednesday night fleets and stuff like that, and that's not a high number request for most MMORPGs to be influential. Like if you have to go up to 0.0 and you want to stake your own claim without renting or something like that, you need thousands of like people to like be influential. You want to even make a claim in low sec, it's very possible that you need to have like the ability to, you're usually going to have to pay people off because if you're going to put down any structures or anything, you just don't have the manpower to back any kind of random big group just going, you know what, fuck it, for this evening we're just going to go shoot this structure and just have fun blowing it up. You always have that risk, basically, of any structure that you put up could just be seen as a target that, if it does take some time, but it gets a kill mail, and the kill mail thirst in Eve is really strong. So setting up in other places in Eve, it can be hard to like distinguish yourself to a certain degree if you're trying to grow your corporation. And faction warfare can give you like a niche of doing what you want to do to start up as either a new player, make a bunch of money as a new player that is normally not as easily accessible. I think that the steps in faction warfare are what make it the most difficult ISK to extract, but it's the easiest to gain the resource to extract that ISK out of the game. Because you can take an Atron that has just a basic PvP fit for even a PvE fit, or even an empty one at this point in time. You can literally go day one with any frigate and go to a defensive site in faction warfare, and what you do is you just look at all of the different locations, and what you're doing is you're looking for defensive sites that where it says like Nenemelia is 58% contested. So then you get about, it isn't exactly this, it's a lot, it's probably worse, but at 58% it's something like 50% of the normal highest level payout for an offensive site will be given out for a defensive site. But you don't need any type of guns. You only need situational awareness to even stay alive, and if you die, it's like a 5,000 or what 500,000 ISK ship, 400,000. I don't know. Maybe even that's an inflated price, because I know that frigates are fucking cheap. They're like super cheap. It's easy to just come out, and the other thing is that you can find a lot of frigate PvP. One of the favorite things that I kind of do, even as being somebody who's been playing the game for a long time, is to play frigate PvP, and even an alpha can get almost on par with an Omega character if they're all skilled out, and definitely a newborn, depending on any kind of skill injection that they do, but just a basic, somebody who's just using regular time to like level themselves up in a couple of months, which it takes you to become pretty, adept in all of the skills that it actually that the person takes to learn how to play the game and do dogfighting and kiting and manual flight and stuff like that. And you want to be able to use a bunch of cheap stuff during those basic lessons type kind of thing, and just take fights that you're going to lose. Especially as a new player, I would say that the best thing to do is just go lose 100 to 200 of your ship of choice in the fighting style that you're looking to do, and just throw it, and with the intent of death. Just, even against targets that you can't kill, but what you do is you learn why you can't kill them. When you can, sometimes you're like, oh shit, I have a battleship, I have him pointed, I have him held down, and there's nothing that he can do, and I can get over his regen. And if he doesn't bring in backup, I'm going to kill him. Like, if you can get over their shield regen, their passive armor tank or a hull tank, like, I've seen it. As long
as you have enough ammo.
Yeah, right, exactly. That's where I always pack a lot of ammo as well, just in case.
Yeah.
It's not that much more expensive to have a pretty decent chunk of like 2,000 to 3,000 ammo, of each type in your hull.
Yeah, back when I was an early player, I used to do a lot of PvE fighting, and I was looking for those like the rats, that were in the larger battle cruisers and battleships. And because once you got within that 500, you just started orbiting them really fast, in your frigate, they couldn't hit you. So as long as you could spiral in and get there, you could shoot them. You just had to bring a lot of ammo with you. So I actually made a lot of money doing that, just going through asteroid fields and stuff looking for those ships.
Well, and then Saipan points out here, thanks for joining us.
Oh, yeah.
One of the
Thanks for following, man.
The big things is pirate faction warfare, which is a little bit more advanced. Definitely forces you to be an offensive ship, which is something that I think, to a certain degree, it hurts the brand new player just wanting to jump in and make some money. But it makes it too easy for anybody to make an alt or to just sign up for moonlighting of faction warfare to come in and make easy money, especially with like botting and stuff like that. Or I don't think, from what I've noticed, I have seen some bots for sure. We've caught some bots and they just stop and they're like, oh, I can't do anything anymore, and they're just you know usually, though, they are destroyers that have weapons on them that they use to destroy stuff. So a lot of the times, the people that are using no fit frigates are either brand new to the game and are just learning and somehow figure it out by listening to a podcast or something, that you can just go to faction warfare defensive sites and look for the most, like right now you want to kind of go over to Ashikagi or to Akaman, and if you just run sites there, which actually you're going to run into probably PvP problems, and if you're doing novices, you'll run into frigate PvP, and that's kind of the cool thing about this, is that you definitely want to go to the like more contested areas. Now, faction, Garista faction or pirate faction jumping into this is a whole mix of what's kind of going on in the Asakai, Akadama, Risado, Tama area. Like Tama right now is heavily camped with lots of people running bubbles, especially throughout the day, and you need to be aware of these kind of things. And I am going to like shrink us down here so you can kind of get a little bit better view of the map. Actually here. But there is really great payouts. I would say one of the best payouts in this game right now is faction warfare done for the pirates. The biggest problem you're going to have is that unless you're part of a bigger organization, and even then, it's very possible that you're just going to get attacked by frat, and other people who are doing faction warfare to just make money and are not, and have ways to ensure that their standings don't get them kicked out of faction warfare. And so they just AWOX a whole bunch, or they'll use neutrals to AWOX you, or, there's a lot of AWOXing kind of things that are happening with pirate faction warfare, which, to be honest, is, I think, not, from my point of view, is not a big issue, except that it does leak over, and we have the same problem in Gallente and in Caldari. Caldari have a much bigger issue with it. I believe the Minmatar and Amar both have issues with it as well. The Angels have problems with it, and the Garistas have problems with it. Gallente, to be honest, we don't deal with it too much because we are the underdog of everything. So, Minmil is not allied with the Gallente anymore. They used to be, but we have broken that official blue status. So anybody in the Minmatar shows up neutral these days, and they can't run any of our sites. Yeah, that is something that definitely was around for a long time before the front lines, and it actually ended just before the front lines. So, Gallente does have a Discord. There's Ribbit runs a fairly strong. Let me see if I can. Oopsie.
Are you trying to post it, or you want me to try to?
I'll post it here real quick.
Yeah, Gail Mills got comms. Rabbit's pretty active.
So that's comms. Rivet that I just posted there, and then General Gal Mill is something that was around before Ribbit has its comms as well. They have an authorization system and everything But the big one for Galmill is that if you're authorized, or if you are part of Galmill in either enlistment or in um, the joining a corporation that's part of, or an alliance that's part of the faction, um, you can gain access to a bunch of the basic kind of comms that we use.
Mm-hmm. The worst case scenario, you can at least come into the waiting
And then, of
room.
course,
and
we
get
do
pulled down
have
for
our
information.
own comms.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we used to use this a lot more, our own comms, but I think with the development of the other Galmo comms, we've kind of
We got
switched
our
over.
own streaming channel room
Yeah, true.
that we get to use, so that made it a little bit more of more eyes, more people that are looking to do faction warfare stuff is looking at Gale Mill and seeing how many people are in a channel and jumping in on that. Yeah, some of the things that we want to talk about. Let's make sure that we delve into the meat of our discussion here, which is tips and tricks for faction warfare. So I'll kind of start off. One of the big tips and tricks of faction warfare is when you are flying to a complex, such as if you go to Tama and you find a large Gallente complex for you to run. That means that you can, there's sizes that are allowed in at that point. If it's an advanced or a navy, will dictate whether you can have like higher tech type of stuff. But the biggest thing to know about these complexes is that you can warp to them at 100 and see what's going on, and then scan with your directional scanner at 1 AU or 0.1 AU. If you slide it all the way down, you go into your directional scanner, do 360 all the way down to 0.1 AU. You can do a scan and you can see what's on the inside. Also, if you're going into a really hot place like a battlefield, don't warp from the most predictable gate. So if you're coming from somewhere, go to a safe, go to the star, and even the star is maybe a little too predictable.
Yeah, with a little
Um,
question. No
you can
gates, no stars, no stations. Find a
see if
planet.
people have already like know which direction they're already kind of set up. Um, Coming in at 100 does not guarantee you a safe look at something, but it does greatly increase your chances. Because going to 0, also if you don't ever go directly at 0, it'll make you possibly bounce off, especially in a fleet warp. You can,
Yeah, you will. When you land, you'll get stuck on the gate. So when you try to actually slide in or go into the complex, you can get stuck on that gate. And that sucks, especially if there's bad guys on the outside that are trying to shoot you. It's just another opportunity they have to actually get hands on with you. Another thing to kind of point out is when you warp in at range, so you go, okay, I'm going to warp in at 100. Doesn't mean you're actually going to land at 100, or if you warp in at 50 or 70, it's a window. You might warp in at, I think it's within like 15K of your chosen warp. So if you say, hey, I'm going to warp in at 100, it'll be, no, because you'll hit like 83, like you warp in at like 83K.
What it is that that's the box. So the warp gate box is really big. So when you warp in at 100, you're warping in at the center of the box, but the box is much bigger. Is 13. The gate is 13 kilometers bigger in size of like when it says how close you are to something. So when you warp to 100 at a plex, you'll land at about 88. To like 83, depending on where you come in and what angle at that box, basically. but it's still at a center point of it. So if you warp to a person that's not in, I think that this is another big one, is to know that if you have somebody on the outside or inside of the Plex and you warp to them, you will land, it's dead space, so you will always land 100 kilometers or 50 kilometers or whatever you assign yourself from the gate, and not the person you're warping to. Now if you were to warp from frigate to another frigate, you will always land where they were when you initiated warp. But if they move from that, then they will be further away from you by the time that you land. But if there is a stationary target and you warp to them, I do think that there is like a 3-kilometer deviation maybe, though. So you are right, there is some deviation, but it's not 13 kilometers or something. But there is an illusion that does happen when you're warping to a big giant gate, that it does seem like it's a big amount. But like the warp in for anything is always like a 3 to 2 kilometer kind of thing.
I just wanted to make sure that people understood that that's not an exact location. Like there's a variable there that you have to take into account. So, but again, the idea is do not warp in at 0. Warp in at anything else except for 0 is my recommendation at the very minimum.
And Zypan says using the directional scanner and keeping it at 360 in low AU, 0.1 or 1 AU, and you just bash that thing all the time when you're inside of your Plex. Mm-hmm. And that's what makes it one of the most unactive and active gameplay. There is a possibility that you'll be there solo, and you can kind of look at local, because as soon as somebody becomes suspect, that means a neutral very possibly is coming in through your thing. So that's when you can check. It's still kind of, so it's 0.0 watches local. High seckers usually don't give a shit, especially if it's a low volume. Like I hear living near Jeddah sucks, like for mining and industry and all that shit. Like everybody's like, there are no asteroids, and it's like, how many jumps from Jeddah are you? I'm 0 jumping from Jeddah. No asteroids in Jeddah. And it's like, yeah, there is no asteroids. That's Jeddah is always mined. Even by the that it's never seeded. But anything within like 5 jumps at Jeddah is, like that's the people who can, if it's a minute resource that doesn't regenerate over a short amount of time and it's a daily regeneration, then day 1, hour 1, all those belts within close proximity to Jeddah have already been assigned out. Kind of same thing with faction warfare though too, is that certain areas are much more hot than others, and you can still make money in the backwater system, or not backwater, the command operation systems. It's a little bit less for the LP payout that you get for it, but it is another option if you're not looking for something as hot as the frontline systems. And the frontline systems also vary on how many people are pushing and fighting in those areas. So right now we have Asakai at a vulnerable, and we have Akaman at 99%. If you were a Galente pilot looking for a fight, this is where I would go to get a fight. The other thing you can do is you can see kind of a little bit with the small screen that we have up of looking at a kill board. Is another way of getting a really good idea of what's going on. And another really good tip here, real quick, I'll kind of show this to you. So if you come over to your map, I have selected and I have favorited my fleet members. So whenever I'm in a fleet, I can check the map and I can see where all the fleet members are. Even if you're not the fleet commander, you're just a regular squad member. You can by name see where everybody in your fleet is by going. So I never used the map before, and I just learned this after 20 some odd years of playing the game. That if you come to map and you go to, I believe it's personal, yep, personal fleet members. Have that selected, and it'll be a big red dot. If there's like 10 people over here in Nurvikaiken, it'll be a big giant red blotch that'll be there. And that is something that has saved me a lot of time. Where it's, and it's something recently that I learned where I was like, dude, really? Like somebody was telling us this, and I was like, oh man, because now I jump into fleet and I just go, okay, where's the main group of people? Let's go hang out over there. One thing I will say about faction warfare is there's almost always a fleet up. That fleet is almost always doing nothing. But it has sporadic.
They're not doing anything as a fleet.
Yes, right.
You got a lot of individuals.
They're just waiting for somebody to say, "I caught a Vargur," and you go where, and you go, and you help them kill a Vargur. You keep in their general vicinity. You're attacking a specific area. But I think that is one of the toughest things for people in faction warfare. It's a tough thing for me. It's that I'm much more likely to want, like when I run a fleet, I gather up people and I say, come with me, we're going to be together and we're going to go shoot something. And, a lot of the times that resorts to running, inefficiently running plexes or running gate camps. And it is something that is not how the standing fleets of, a lot of times it's much more of they're going to just be spread out and waiting for something to come to make them form up and do something together. So do you have any specific tip or trick that you can think of for faction warfare?
Yeah, well, going back to kind of the basics of, are you playing solo or are you playing with the group? You're playing solo. Let's just assume you're playing solo. You have to figure out, am I going to be a hunter or am I going to be a prey? Well, I guess you're always you're always a hunter, but who can seem like prey. So mainly, are you going to be sitting in a plex waiting for people to come to you, or are you going to go out and look for them? Because that may have a specific impact on what kind of ships you want to fly and how you want to be set up. Can you look for specific targets? If I'm in a frigate, what's this frigate equipped to go up against? What's your ideal match to fight with this? What ships are you looking for? You can get really specific when you start getting into certain builds and stuff like that. So maybe that's kind of a bigger target, like a bigger thing. But again, the idea of knowing what's your limitations. If you're flying around, you're in Cursus, and you see somebody's got, I don't know, a worm in, one of the advanced sites, probably not a good fight for you. You're gonna. The drones alone are going to pound you. So, you may be better off looking for other things. You're going to be out looking for maybe a Merlin would be a good fight, I would think. Tormentor might be rough, but you could do that. Punisher, if it's not too heavily tanked. But again, and that's how you get to know your ships, know what your ship can do. And that's going back to kind of the comment you made of, put 10 of these ships together. And go out and try to find those fights. If you're going out and hey, this worked, that didn't work. Okay, I screwed up on my range. I forgot to launch my drone. I wasn't watching my transversal, or I wasn't keeping an eye on where I was in space in comparison. I lost my range. There's the things you got to kind of pick up on this fight. Like, what did I do good? What could I have done better? And what did I absolutely screw up on? And then try to do better and go out and do it again. I was out in a Comet, and I only had 2 drones in it, and I had a Rifter come in, and exact same thing happened. Like, I screwed up on my range. I didn't have in the right ammo. I didn't have in all my drones, and I lost that fight. But I went and reshipped, and the guy let me come back, and we fought again. I got him down to like 10% haul, and I didn't kill him. I just let him go at that point. But I appreciated the fact that he stuck around, and I wasn't gonna like smoke him for it. But he got me once, but he allowed me to go for it a second time. So again, but I kind of learned. Says, okay, that kind of goes with the other golden rule. Is that if you fly lazy, you're gonna die. And I kind of always sum it up as fly dumb, die dumb. And that's just it. If you start relaxing on that, on your directional scanner, if